Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have someone extremely special on the podcast today. Leanne is here. She is someone who's been through the rounds. She entered my coaching as one person, and on this other side, a couple of years later, she I who are you and what have you done with the original Leanne? Like who? From someone who came to me with the initial, what the fuck, Ruby? And I think you went to Jo as well, asking her what the hell's with all these calories. And then you came to me. Yeah, I thought so. I remember that. Wondering why she wants to lose fat. She wants to lean up. Why does she have all these calories? To only ask me a little bit in, why am I actually hungry now? Tell me a little bit about that, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And
well, look, I think it's really funny because I remember a particular time, and I've got a bit of background and understanding in this stuff. So you just think, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, and all like you think you've got it right. And I think the biggest thing is what I did when I was younger, I was finding wasn't working now. And so you were telling me these things and like, oh, you need to eat more. You need to put your calories up. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why put calories up if I want to lose weight? And these ideas, and you really like kind of came up against my beliefs. And I think that was the biggest thing. Like you say, who are you now? I'm a completely different person because I let go of that. It took a while. We certainly had some moments where I didn't really want to listen and I thought I knew better. But I think coming out the other side of that, it gives you a totally different understanding of how to live life. So it's not about these restrict cycles where you lose the weight, like the 6-week, 8-week, 12-week challenges. And you lose weight because you cut your calories, you do this crazy exercise, and you just go. And then you get to this result, but then you go back because you're starving and you just want to have a break. And then you put on, and as I was getting older, I'd put on more than I'd started with. And that's where I was going, what is going on? And then you, Ruby, taught me about building muscle and eating more food to support the muscle building. And yeah, it was definitely, it still is, it's a journey. But getting to that place where you can understand that it's the muscle that it's important. It's not about being smaller. Smaller will come with building muscle, which is so counterintuitive, right? Because
you didn't believe that then. So
no, I didn't. No.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because something you said stood out to me, and that's it came up against my beliefs.
Yeah.
And when they are rock solid, and Leanne is someone who is a stubborn personality. She knows what she knows, and she believes that fundamentally to be true. But hey, you're human, and you might have some limiting beliefs that either out of shame, out of denial, out of what does it mean if I have to accept this to be true? On the other side, what do I have to go through? And we're not comfortable with change. I actually brought up something that you mentioned about Jared Hamilton's podcast. So that's something I'll feed into later, because that was where you mentioned about pushing your comfort zone and doing things you're not familiar with for growth.
Yeah.
And this is something a lot of us move away from, because it means dealing with some emotions. And we may not have a pleasant history with dealing with our emotions. We may not have proof that we can cope with change, with emotions, or it's led to failure in the past. So I want to get more of that aspect on it, because it's all well and good to like sit here and be like, I'm over here, and they don't understand where I'm at now. But seeing it from your eyes on, like, say you're on a train and we're going from where you started, chugging along and like looking out the window to see, okay, well, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I guess I came into it with the mindset, like I'm very goal focused, always have been. So my goal was to get a coach and to reach this goal, right? So the first, how long did I pester you about a bloody fat loss phase? So my goal was to lose some fat, tone up, to get lean, right? And when you said, no, you've got to do this thing called maintenance, and you've got to get your calories up, and you've got to hold it here, and we've got to build muscle, it was really hard for me to understand, because I was going, this is completely not what I want to do. You don't know what I want to do. You don't understand. So that was where it really came up against what I believed, because I honestly thought you weren't listening to me. I just thought you were going off on your own tangent. So it took me a while to start to understand. And I mean, I've listened to probably all of your podcasts. So it's like brainwashing, right? So when you start, you don't get it. You don't believe it. You don't understand it. But the more times you hear it in different ways, and when I started going to gym, even when I started, Ruby, I was very, if you ask Scott, I was very meticulous. Like, if you gave me, these were my macros, I hit my macros. There was no range. There was this, right? And I took, we went away one weekend, and because I do all my meal prep, I took my meal prep with me when I went away, because I didn't want to blow out, and there was just no flexibility. I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it to the T, and then I can get to my fat loss phase. Like, it was all about this bloody fat loss phase, right? And so I think as that went through, I was able to learn, holy, I'm training really hard. I'm fueled to train. This feels so much better. I was seeing, I think it was about 8 months before I did any kind of fat loss phase. And I was seeing change in my body. I still wasn't like lean as I thought that I wanted to get to, which has now completely changed, mind you. But that process, I feel good. I'm training harder. I'm lifting heavier.
You denied it in your mind, though, because in your head you still wanted the fat loss phase, so you kept it on the down low. Like, yeah, I'm seeing change, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to embody this, because I know I still want this fat loss. I was
doing it all for the fat loss phase. Like, and it was only towards the end of that I started going, oh, I am getting some change. This is kind of feeling better. And that's when you said, okay, now we can do fat loss. But do you know what? To be completely honest, I didn't love that fat loss phase. Yes, I did. I leaned up. I did. But like you bang on about all the time, you're not going to build substantial muscle in 8 months. And in those early stages, although I've been in the gym pretty much since I was 16, I probably wasn't ever training to the level that I need to train to build muscle. You know, like, yeah, you do your 12 reps, but you're not training to failure. You're not really pushing those reps. And so I think that that first 8 months, I was relearning how to train. And I'm still learning how to train. I forget whose podcast it was, but I really liked what he said about, you go to gym and you practice, because every time you do a rep, you practicing. Where are you putting the tension? What's your tempo like? Where are you feeling it? Like, and I think that's the thing that I try and remember now. It's not about like just get in and get it done and tick it off the list. It's making it count. And it's just that consistent, my word of 2025, that consistent stimulus is where you're going to see changes over time, not straight away, not in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And this is kind of tying back to it came against your beliefs, because you actually pestered me on and on about giving you a set date. I need a date. I need a week that I can start this fat loss phase so that I can work towards it. And it was the only way that I could get her to eat more food, to train and do this phase. And she was seeing changes, and she took photos a couple of weeks, or was it a month before we were going to start the fat loss phase? And I pointed out the changes. She had her back was starting to look developed. You started to see some changes in her legs. They started to look like they actually lifted weights. And one thing that she came away with from the fat loss phase is just how disappointed she was, because she had this image in her head that during this fat loss phase, to not feel so fluffy anymore, which she kept saying, I just want to lean up. I feel fluffy. I don't like this. My belly. It was the belly. It was the belly. It's always the belly with women. But on the other side, she was disappointed that she didn't see what she expected, which I will let you talk about that bikini photo as well. But at the same time, it's when you expect to see amazing changes when you've only done the process for 8 months, when she took about 1 month, maybe 2 months to actually get into the process of training like someone who actually wants to change something. And many people come into this doing like what you said, jumping up and down instead of actually lifting weights. And one thing you said is you wish that you started lifting with intent in your 20s.
Yeah.
And that's the sad fact. Most people in their 20s are too busy nitpicking their bodies that they don't realize until they're 40, until they're 50. Oh, wow. I thought I had time. I never thought about my future self. Well, I did, but it seemed so far away, and now I'm here, and I spent my whole life trying to get smaller. But and you realize that you didn't have the muscle mass that you wanted to see. That's what I was trying to get to. You didn't have the muscle mass that you expected. And it's almost like we expect to have significant change because we feel ourselves being bigger. But that is fake muscle growth, so to speak. Because with muscle, with more food, you're more hydrated. With muscle, with harder training, your muscles are more hydrated. They fill up. You train hard. And just the sheer fact that you're not chasing fat loss is a completely different feeling inside of your body. So it feels like you've done enough work already. But sometimes it takes learning it the hard way. And that's the epitome of Leanne.
They're the best lessons, though, because I think you have to go through the crap to get to the lesson, right? Because it's one thing, I mean, anyone who's got kids, you can tell them what the best thing to do is, but they're not going to listen. I didn't listen. Like, I often think, what would I tell my younger self, right?
What would you tell your younger self about this? Your
Well,
20-year-old.
Thinking about that, I wouldn't tell my younger self anything, because whatever I told her, she wouldn't have listened. She would have gone, yeah, whatever, crazy old lady. Like, you don't know, I know. And I think one thing that I'll say too, when I was in my 20s, aerobics was the thing, right? It's not like now. There's so much information out there, and there's so many younger girls who are lifting weights. Whereas when I was younger, the men were in the weights room and the girls were in the aerobics room. So although you did pump classes and things like that, there wasn't the same push, I don't think, or the same, like, you know, it's that old adage, like, oh, I don't want to lift weights because I'm going to get bulky. And that's kind of, and so I wish the education was there. So I would say to any younger people now, like I try and say to my daughter, lift weights, like do it now, like you were in the prime. For me, it's much harder. It's not impossible. Keep eating, keep lifting, like, you know, the gym, but it's much harder for me to build that muscle now than it would have been when I was 20, 25. But it's also having that kindness for myself to, and this is the thing that I think I've learned over the last few years as well, like that photo, like, are you talking about the competition photo?
Yeah, that was another one. I was just about to lead into that now, because this is a perfect lead into it, because something that you also mentioned was the podcast, and the part that you just said that stood out to me is you hear it so many times in so many different ways. And also when we're listening to podcasts, we're typically doing other things. So we're in different frames of mind. And sometimes we might be more receptive. Sometimes it might hit us different because we're doing something else. And there was a time with a particular client where I said something a particular way. And she said to me, Ruby, you know all the things, and you say all the educational stuff. You say everything I need to hear. But sometimes it just takes that one moment for it to hit me, even though you've said it before. And sometimes it's hearing it a few other ways from other people, and then hearing it again from you in a different context, and then it mends together. And then you also mentioned, the main thing there is like most clients are successful, not because we don't do the work in the coaching. It's because what Leanne said with like that brainwashing thing, because right now it's going to come up against your beliefs. You're stubborn, you're doing things your way. So what happens? You follow the same echo chambers because what I say is right. They're not listening. They don't get me, like you said to me.
Yeah.
And that's what so many women do when they open their Instagram app, when they open their Facebook app, when they get advice. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you turn it away. And because we're going to go back to the limiting beliefs and the bikini photo, the what got you here won't get you there. And then there's the deficit culture, the overtraining, the sporadic training on and off, because if it's not perfect, you don't do it at all. The cutting carbs, that's another thing, because you said lift weights, but we didn't mention the main driver of what actually gives you the energy. Like we were speaking about before, it's like you can do the diet, be low energy, or you can have the energy, fuel yourself with carbs, not earn your carbs, and realize that you don't have to have the burnout with it. So why doing more of what got you the initial results would led to more burnout? And it wasn't through another diet, but a new direction being maintenance that actually was the reason to the goal body that you wanted versus what you thought it was. And you can talk about that.
Well, I think it's this on again, off again. Not as much anymore, but I used to label myself as an extremist. It's all or nothing. And it doesn't serve you. It's absolutely pointless. Because what I do is like you do the challenges or you do your deficits and then you'd go and train really hard. But then because you're exhausted, right, you'd go, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to take a break. And then trying to get back to the gym, like you're always a newbie. And I think this is the biggest thing. Like maintenance sounds like the easiest thing to do. But maintenance for me has been the hardest, the hardest thing to do, because I have to ditch my all or nothing mentality. And an example of is this week, right? So this week I was busy at work. I do 4 sessions at the gym at the moment, and I missed a couple of days just because I just didn't have time. The old me would have gone, oh, well, screw that. Don't worry about it. We'll start again on Monday. Now I just go, okay, where am I up to in my program? Okay, I'm up to this workout, went to the gym today and did it, So it's a complete change of that mindset. And I think, like, I know we spoke about this, but it's that time frame. So before I wanted a time frame, like I want to be in this particular shape or this particular whatever by the 30th of November, right? So you've got something to work towards and you've got to do all of this stuff, but I don't have a time frame now. All my goal is I just want to be that cool old lady at 80 in the gym still lifting weights. And there's no time frame on that. Like I've got a while to go until I'm 80. So all I have to do is that when I can, I turn up and I train to the best of my ability. And over time that will compound, just like your superannuation or interest in a bank account.
Yeah, that part right there, because you labeled yourself as an extremist and you literally said outright that didn't serve you. But the thing is, there's a reason why you do what you do. And the all or nothing mentality, there is a reason why you have it there the way that you have it there. And I remember clearly having this conversation with you where I can't remember exactly. I don't remember what I said, but I remember what you said, because you mentioned something around, I have high standards. I have these expectations for myself.
Sometimes ridiculous, though.
But it's almost like we fear letting go of this. I need to be extreme. I need to make sure that I achieve these standards. I have goals. Sometimes we need to realize that in having such unrealistic expectations of ourselves, high standards, we are setting ourselves up to fail before we even start, because we are so out of tune of what it actually takes, number one, to get there. Number two, what the process is like. But number three, where did these goals even come from? And what's going to say that you aren't then going to recalibrate that upwards as you start to move towards it? So what did you have to unlearn in that process to get there? Was there a moment where something clicked and you realized, oh, this is actually working, this feels different? Or what do you think that all or nothing mindset, that extremist mindset was doing to serve you then for someone else in that same mentality where they feel like they need to lose weight now, they need to achieve this now? They're seeing these, because most of the things on social media are people in bikinis glitzing it in orangutan friggin' fake tans. Like, that's what we see. We think that that's normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you go off on that.
How did I ditch that? It's probably only been recently, right? So I would say that it's been since I went back training after my recent surgery that I just realized this doesn't really matter. So talking about that pic that I said, to give some context to the audience. So when Ruby said, what do you want to look like? Send me a pic of what you want to look like. And I sent her, so a while ago now, I did a bikini competition and I sent her a photo of me on stage. And at the time, that's genuinely what I wanted. I wanted to be back there. But now I reflect on that and I go, what a silly goal. Like, for me, my life, for what you have to do to get to that. And I didn't even have enough muscle, man. Like, I was like 56 kilos. I know you don't like talking about weight, but I was tiny I'm 5'8", and I was so little, but I didn't have muscle. Right.
Can I add context to that?
Yeah.
I weigh the exact same. Actually, I weigh a little bit more than what you did in that photo. And yeah. I'm 5'1".
Yeah.
So I weigh 5'1". I'm 5'1". She's 5'8". I weigh heavier than her, quote unquote. She wasn't even lean. Her smallest. Lean was muscle.
Tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, that's the difference it makes. Yeah. That is the difference that muscle can do. And if you are so obsessed with the scale, obsessed, I bet that I would think that your clothes then you would think that my clothes as that person were too loose versus no, the other way around. I would think that your clothes are too tight, because the thing that triggers women TF off is tight pants. It's always the pants. Maybe you can bring that into here as well, because I feel like this is such a strong part, because we always kind of get mixed up with, I want to go back there. I was the happiest there. But we don't realize.
It messes up with your head though, right? And like, I've heard people talk about this before, and not that we're going down a bodybuilding kind of route, because I wasn't a bodybuilder. I was just, let's set this crazy goal of let's just like cut weight and let's just get on stage. Don't get me wrong, I had the best time. It was so fun. I did have to put in a lot of hard work to get there, but I didn't have this amazing physique. I'm just like, I've got pretty good genetics. I was able to cut the weight. I did pretty good for an older lady. So that's all it really was. It was just some crazy goal that I wanted to do. But when that
wasn't attached to your values either. If you
it wasn't. Well, at the time I thought it was, and this is where we grow as people. But now I look back and I go, that's just so silly. And the worst experience from that, and let's talk about muscle, is that I didn't have a lot of muscle. I was tiny. So I would have been I was training, but not training hard. I would have been losing weight, like losing fat, but also losing muscle. When I came over the other side of that competition and my food went back to normal and I started just living a normal life again, I just put on weight, and it wasn't muscle weight. It was fat.
Because when you lose muscle, you're more predisposed. Actually, here's a good one. You're more predisposed to gaining fat more than anything, but you actually increase your hunger set point. So did you find that your hunger was higher than it was before you started?
Lost control. And not just that, because I was doing the competition for this goal, how you were saying, like this goal that you set, it wasn't a lifestyle. It wasn't a process. So after I did the competition and I got my goal, the goal was gone. It was all finished with. And then you just you take your foot off the gas. Like, it's kind of like driving and go zoo and then stop, woo and then stop. It doesn't okay, you're going to get to a destination at some point, but you're probably going to burn out your accelerator cable by doing it. So I just think that it's just not a sustainable way. And I've completely reset my goals. So if that's one thing I can say to people, is to really question your goal and why it's important to you. Because sometimes ditch social media. I think social media is so bad for people who are trying to get on the right track with their thinking, because
this
we
is
see
where
people,
a coach comes in really
it
well.
is. It definitely helps, because all we're seeing is people's highlight reels, and we don't know, like, yeah, you can say one thing, but it's not even true. So question your own goals and go, why is this my goal? Is this my goal because I saw something and I want to be like them? Or is this my goal because that's genuinely in my heart what I want to do and what I want as my goal? Because for me now, look, I still want to look great, definitely. And I'm still eating well, and I'm still training, and I'm still doing all the things that are going to work towards that. But I'm going to start looking at results in 5 years. Then I'll start doing some body checking and going, I wonder if anything's happened, rather than after every week going, why hasn't something changed? It has. If I'm lifting, it has. And I've probably grown a little bit of muscle fiber, but I'm not going to see that right now.
That's one of the hardest things for you to not sabotage yourself with if you don't have a coach, because we're so used to seeing these crazy changes. And that's exactly what fat loss gives you. That's exactly what 12-week challenges give you.
Yeah.
That is why it's so alluring. And that is where a coach comes in to guide you through it, to shift your focus to what matters, because you've never focused on your training the same way. Like you were talking about micromanaging your food to the gram. You never once micromanaged your training to the degree that I made you focus in on your training. I made you push those reps. And that's when you started seeing the excitement of actually getting stronger. Oh, I want to bench press now. What the hell? I can do an overhead squat. I can do a squat without pain. Like when you start to realize that you can do these, you can do the push-ups, and the push-ups you were doing.
Push-ups on my toes. I could never do a push-up on my toe. Actually, when I did that competition, I was like teeny tiny and I weighed nothing. I could do those things because I was so light. But walking around 10 kilos heavier than that, like, it was hard to do those things. And I got to the stage where I was doing that again, which was just incredible. And I think that's where you start to, how you were talking about that mindset shift from where I started to kind of how I went through going on that train, looking out the window. It's when you get to those moments, it's like, holy, I can do 5 push-ups on my toes. I'm stronger. Like, it's empowering to feel that. And I still wasn't super strong, but I was stronger than I was. And so it's just continuing that. And like I keep telling, not as much now. Something's changed, Ruby, for me now. I'm so much more chill. But at that particular time, it was just, rather than focusing on the end result, just get stronger. Yeah.
I know why you're more chill. I'm going to bring that up in a second, but there's something that I feel like you can touch on that will help other people, because I know actually both of these tie into this client little journey that I can kind of relate to this, because I want your perspective on this, because she's still in this initial phase of her training is stronger than it ever was. She's lifting things she's never lifted before. She's needing to buy new weights. Like everything is like her form has went from not even being able to do a split squat, not even being able to do a hinge, to now nailing all of these things. But the only thing is, but I think I'm eating too many calories, but my pants are tight. All of these progress metrics are happening. And this is where a coach comes in, because the only reason she hasn't sabotaged, the only reason that she is succeeding and she's seeing progress and making progress and stronger than ever is because she has a coach to guide her through this. She knows she's redirected in her focus. But what's on social media? Fat loss metrics. We've only ever been taught, I want your progress photos every single week. That was something that you were completely bamboozled by. Yeah. You don't want my progress photos every single week.
Measurements. Like, how do you know this? How do you know that I'm doing it? Like, it was foreign to me.
Because we are so hammered in with, this is the way that we measure progress. This is what happens. Yeah, of course it does, because fat loss happens like that. Muscle building is a different story. We don't measure things on the same metric scale. And if you haven't learned the thing that you mentioned, process, it is very hard to get there. And then you mentioned something about being chill and enjoy. I bet as a fact that you enjoy the process so much more. There is so much less resentment. You want to do it now. It's not micromanaging your food because you want to have control over it to the nth degree, so you don't get lazy, you don't lose control, you don't get fat. It's out of actual, I care about my body. I care about
Mhm.
my health. But what I realize now that you mentioned, if we bring in the values, if we bring in where you are now with your job, bring in now where you are with actually having your relationship with your one and only steak cooker who cooks gourmet steaks, but like all these other elements of her life is actually good now. Whereas before, it wasn't all those relationship things that was dragging her down, it was her job.
Mm.
And when you're dissatisfied in some area of your life, when there's this discomfort, what do? We try to cling to our bodies. We make our bodies the issue. We feel discomfort in there. So if you've always had, or if you are currently having like things out of your control in other areas and there's some other discomfort, it's very hard for you to be chill in the body in things that are so much more easier for you to control because you couldn't control your work environment.
Yeah. And it was the location. Like and that's the worst part. Like and you're right, because when something happens, and I've always done it, the one thing you can control is that body. You can control what you eat, and you can control the activity you put out. Everything else around you can happen, but if you want to take control, you can go, oh, I can change that, and that's going to make me feel better. But it generally doesn't. Even when I did the competition, I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing. And I hear like people talk about it on podcasts. You get to this state of leanness, which is lean compared to what you were, but you still don't feel lean. And then as soon as you start putting on a little bit of normal weight, you feel fat. And it's just, it messes with
It's a
your
head fuck.
head, like so bad. It's like, it was the craziest experience. I don't think it mattered how lean you'd get. You'd still be picking at yourself because you're going to be even more critical the leaner you get.
Oh, I had a question somewhere. I have to find that one. I wrote this down because I thought it was really important. But with the leanness, especially like when you start focusing on eating, when you start focusing on wanting to diet and wanting to get leaner, of course that's going to become the thing in focus. What it's like that pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant, or is it a blue elephant? I don't care. It's just an elephant. But thinking of elephants, that elephant is now in your head. You can probably think of a pink elephant because the background's pink. There you go. So either way, it's what you focus on expands, and it's almost, oh, here it is. When I finally started eating more, it silenced the I'm not doing enough voice in my head. And it's not like, it seems weird to say that I'm not doing enough. You stop thinking that just by eating more. But it's not, it's kind of like how getting stronger isn't just about you building muscle or you being able to lift a certain weight. It's a whole identity. It's a whole way of carrying yourself around, because you don't just get stronger. It's what you prioritize. It's what you start to focus on. It's fueling yourself, because if you're not well fueled, you're not going to build muscle. You're not going to continue to see progress. You're not going to recover. Your sleep's going to be shit. You're going to overthink absolutely everything because you're going to be hungry. Your food's going to be everywhere because you're going to be craving things. And then you're going to try to save on calories whenever you get a chance to only overeat the next day.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really important with what you said. And there was something else that you said before that, which I think is important to bring here. I want to still be lifting weights when I'm 80. And what I think is important here is, if you think of your 80-year-old self, are you still going to be obsessing the same diet? Are you still going to be obsessing over your leanness, over your body is fundamentally going to change when you're 80? Do you want it to change in a positive way or a negative way? Do you want to still, your metabolism will be down in the dumps by then, probably down the lowest that will ever be, because you didn't build the one thing that ensures that you keep your metabolism, which is muscle. There, it's not even the walking, it's not even the steps, because your 80-year-old self isn't going to be walking and getting themselves around in a functional, high energy way if there's no muscle to support that body.
It's just being able to, like, when I'm 80, I want to be able to get out of a chair. I want to be able to hang out the washing. I want to be able to do basic tasks. And it's not about when I'm 80 be ripped and all of this, because like you're 80, like if you live to 80, how lucky, like, and to be functional to be able to do that. But I think, like, in regards to like goals and stuff, I go back to, what's your goal? So for me now, it's just about that consistency. It's about maintenance. When I still, Yeah. Now, don't jump in, because I know you might when I say I intuitively eat, but I intuitively eat with education. So I am a bit of a food robot. I do all my food prep, and I eat very similar meals, similar to you, Ruby. Like you eat similar meals all the time. So if you're swapping things in and out, I just kind of have a bit of a range now. I'm not personally, I'm not tracking at the moment, but
from meticulous Leanne to I cannot get over a single gram. What are the exact grams that I need?
I don't know anymore, because I kind of like, I'll use my Fitness Pal. So I've made this really awesome breakfast. And so when I make up a new recipe, I'll use my Fitness Pal to kind of get a roundabouts what it is. I'll plan a day out. Does this kind of fit in? How does that work? If it does, sweet. I know I'm good. And I know I'm not going to be going over anything major, but it's having that range, because some days I might eat a little bit less. And then on weekends, like if my partner's home, we'll go out and have a date night. And I don't even worry about it anymore, because that's flexibility. And the problem with deficits is you don't have flexibility. And my mindset, like this sustainable diet, I laugh now thinking about that. Like I used to all be one for a sustainable diet. What a load of crap. Diet, like, why be in a sustainable diet? Like if you want to diet, get in, get out, and get back to eating food and being happy.
You sound like Ruby.
I know you've brainwashed me. But it's exactly the fact. Like I have no desire in any time soon to go into any kind of restrictive fat loss phase. I am so happy being fueled, having flexibility, having the energy to train. I sleep well, I perform well. I've still got a bit of fat on me, I've got a bit of cellulite, but I've got some muscle and I've got energy and I've got all the good stuff. And I don't want to be an Instagram model. Like that's not my goal.
But you don't realize that until you go through the process and do it the right way.
You
mentioned I can't remember the exact words you said, but but I highlighted the word process again. And it's almost like you will never get, I think the intuitively eating, I don't know, something you said there where you're not even intuitively eating, you're eating to what you should be eating. It's just that now you've been able, this is where it goes.
I don't have to track it. Yeah.
It goes, this is practically what I do, because I know I've been doing this whole thing for so long. And the thing that I actually sent you on WhatsApp where I mentioned the coach's minimum is not the minimum that you sign up to. You need to be with them through all the phases. You need to understand all the ins and outs of everything. You need to trust yourself. Like, yeah, okay, there's a whole like teach a man to fish thing, but that's when weight loss challenges were the thing. That's when those short kicks of let's just get you, teaching you how to lose weight, whatever. But that everyone knows how to lose weight. No one knows how to keep it off. But beyond that, it's not even about that. No one knows how to actually build a freaking physique. That has nothing to do with it does have to do with the food, but the food is there to serve the purpose of allowing you to train to your full capacity, to recover, to do these other things that make it the physique possible. But no one's teaching that stuff in a flashy way, because it's not flashy. It's the boring, mundane work.
Yeah. And there's no before and after photos, Ruby. And it doesn't, and that's kind of what sells the programs, right? Look, this is the before and this is the after. Come and do the program. And I think I'll just talk on process if I can.
Yes, please. Because that's what I want to talk about.
When you said it's about the process, I'm like, what? This is rubbish. Like, what's this process? And now I get it, right? Because why I didn't understand it before, and like you were just talking about the minimum terms and things like that. People, okay, minimum term of 3 months. Well, what results will I have in 3 months? Probably none. But this is the mentality that we kind of all have, because it's like, okay, we're paying money, we've got a coach. In 3 months, I'm going to see something. I want something for that. But from my experience, it took a good 8 to 12 months to even learn what I was doing, to even accept what you were trying to tell me. And this process business. I'm like, what's this process business? I want a result. But it's about letting go of that timeline, letting go of this end result, because what happens, you get this end result, then what? Like after my competition, then I just take my foot off the gas and stop. Like that's not useful. So really that process, and just understanding that every time you do a workout, it's not going to give you a result. It's going to stimulate your muscles to grow a little bit more and grow a little bit more and grow a little bit more. And you're not going to see that in 6 months. I've tried it. I did. I like, it doesn't, you're not going to see it in 6 months. Yes, you're going to see some change, but it just happens so slowly, which is why now I understand that process. It's just, how do you practice your exercises and execute better? Like, that's really what it's about, because it's mundane. You do the same stuff over and over again. It is mundane. So if you don't find a way to enjoy that, you're not going to do it. And then if you don't do it, you're not going to build muscle, and then you're in a whole world of pain.
You're not going to see the results. And that's the part where if you want the results in 3 months, cool, I'll let you do it like I let Leanne do it. But she wasn't happy at the end of the fat loss phase. She was deflated at the fact that she was hungry. She felt deprived. She felt like she even lost muscle, because when you're in that deprived state at the end, like something
I didn't have energy to train. I couldn't train to the same level because I was hungry, and I was getting so sick of it because I didn't like being hungry. I love my food.
You would not have had that contrast had you not have done the maintenance phase beforehand to have something to contrast it to. And this is where people get stuck. This is what I'm going to let you riff on, because this part, it is so hard to know how good it feels to feel good, how good it feels to train with true intensity, because so many women out there feel like they train hard. I train my ass off. I lift heavy. You don't know what that looks like until you do the process right and match it all up together. And you said that being in a deficit is shit. Hunger, fatigue, mood swings, and how you feel like you're eating more. And then something else that I want to bring into this is where you mentioned what got you here won't get you there. When I was younger, what I did worked. And of course it does. When you're younger, anything works. And if we keep trying, that's because when you're younger, even the worst of worst works. When you're new to something, it works. But then we get caught up in, it's the dopamine. We get caught up in the results of that. We get addicted to that. So then we keep wanting to chase it. But the more that we chase it, we feel like we're going around in circles, but you're not. You're actually sinking, because
you are. And that's where I got to when I came to you, because what worked when I was younger was that, you can just go and do a quick something, like, and then you get results, and then you kind of keep it for a little while. But the older you get, and I mean, I think all women experience this, is what was working doesn't work, because what I was doing is I tried that bloody isogenics, or like the shakes, and I tried that. Once again, I got tiny. I was tiny. And then all of a sudden I put on all this weight again. Why? Now I know, because I lost all my muscle because I wasn't training. I wasn't eating. I was in a calorie deficit because I was eating carrot sticks and hummus and shakes. And then I put it all back on again and a bit more. And then I did a 6-week challenge where it was all cardio, and you cut your calories again, and back to broccoli and chicken and all of this stuff. And I lost the weight again. And then I put it all back on again. And that was probably only a few years ago. And that's when I started going, you're sinking, right? Because what was working and got me through till I was, I'd say, mid-30s, all of a sudden wasn't working.
And then you came to me wanting the same thing, but you wanted a better version of the same thing. But that's what doesn't click. It's like, well, I have a coach now. It's going to actually work for me, and it's going to be a better way. It's like, you can get the best program in the world. You can get the best coach in the world, Team Ruby. But if you don't change your mindset, you're not going to get the results you want, and you're going to blame the coach, the program. You're going to blame yourself. And Leanne is an anomaly here. She is a stubborn, hard-headed woman. she will put herself into the ground to get an end result if it is what she tells herself she will do. But most of you out there would not have made it to the 5th, the 6th, the 10th diet. You would have burnt out ages ago and given up and thought, what's the point? I can't have what I want and the body that I want at the same time. Leanne pushed through to that point. So this is where most of you get stuck because you're mentally fatigued from this. It is mentally fatiguing, and that's what you wanted to riff on. So I'll let you riff on that, but also riff on pushing your comfort zone, doing the unfamiliar, and letting go of deadlines, because I feel like that's the perfect bridge.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, right? It's that letting go of deadlines that's the hardest, and that's part of that enjoying the process. Because when you've got time frames, in a way, and I still kind of think, in a way, if you've got a time frame and a deadline, whether, like, think of work, right? You've got some important project that you've got to deliver on. This is the deadline. You work your butt off to get to that deadline because that's what you've got to put in. And when you're under any kind of pressure to have that deadline, it makes you commit to that a little. Well, for me, it makes me commit to that a little bit more, which is why I always had this time frame. I need a goal. I need a reason why I'm doing it.
No, I was going to say, did you listen to my podcast ages ago, like years ago, where I mentioned that I always had to have competitions as goals? Or no?
I think I've heard you say that a couple of times. Yeah, so, I've always been the same. Like, it's probably that personality typing. Why? Because
you feel like it's because if you didn't have this deadline, you'll give up on yourself, you'll be lazy, you'll get complacent, and you won't see what you want.
Well, if you don't have something to work towards, why do it? That's kind of always been my crazy thing. It's like I need a goal. I need something to be working towards, whether it's like study or, well, probably only recently to go, well, this is just stupid. Like,
the walk on the beach, that part there, because that, I reckon that's what really changed everything. Because Leanne met up with me after that walk on the beach. That's when everything changed. That's what I've been trying to like direct you towards.
Well, it was a consistency piece, right? Like, so what I really want, my goal this year was to focus on consistency. And that's what I haven't had pretty much all of my life, like that extremist mentality, on again, off again, on again, off again. I've been lucky not to be off too long where I've got too out of shape. Like, I've always been in relatively good shape, always been relatively active, but never really consistently to see awesome results. So when we were chatting about that consistency piece, and that's what I've that's been my challenge for a long time. And that's what's changed this year, Ruby, because it's about the consistency. Like I was saying about this week, normally I'd go, oh, screw it, I'll just start my program again on Monday. Where it's not about, oh, if it's not done on this day, it's all bad. It's about, well, if it's not done on this day, just do it tomorrow. And if you miss a workout, that's okay. Just do the next workout the next day. Like, just don't stop. Like, because consistency isn't consistency in 3 months. Think about consistency in 5 years, and you've got more data points to develop and see that consistency. So it's more having that long-term view and just showing up for yourself.
Oh, you just gave not really a brain. It's not. Are they like brain aneurysms? I don't know. But before my ADHD forgets this point, so many women are scared to eat more. They're scared to lean into this process of fueling themselves because they feel like they'll end up worse. They'll end up going backwards, and because you know how hard it is to diet, you know how grueling it is, how hungry you get, how little you have to eat. You don't want to have to redo that whole thing over. But beyond that, because I've already hammered that point home on many podcasts, and I know that you've heard that part, because we fear that we have to do it all over again, and then we're in a worse place. And then what if I can't stick to it, going back down because it was so hard and I'm so burnt out from yo-yoing in a downward spiral? But I feel like it's that. You don't trust yourself to even be consistent because you've never proven to yourself that you could be consistent before because of those struggles. That just linked the dot there. If you can't stack the proof that you show up for yourself, even in the the weirdest of situations, the most stressful of situations, it is very hard for you to lean into the process of doing things differently because you won't believe that you can, because your whole proof tells you, well, no, because I can't stay consistent. I found the past. And that was what I was just about to lead to now, because I think this leads into like the comparison trap, because the highlight reels, everyone's doing it really well. I'm the only one who's struggling. I feel like a lot of people feel like they're alone in their struggles. And then there's AI, there's Photoshop, and you can't Photoshop your way to consistency. But also, how do you know that anything is real anymore with everything that's going on?
And yeah, anyone can say anything, right? But if we go back to something that you just said, like weight is such a funny thing. Like it's such a funny metric, right? Because when you put up my calories, till I remember you put them up to about 1900, and I nearly flipped out. I was like going, what are you doing? And I think we got up to like 2300, and I was like, okay, I think we were at 2100. I'm like, I'm hungry. Can I have some more food? And this is why I think weight's funny. So I threw my scales away when I started with you. So that was that about 2.5 years ago? I think 2.5, 3 years ago. I think I threw my scales away completely. So I haven't used scales for a very long time. And recently, just through different podcasts I've listened to, I thought, okay, I think I'm in a place now where I can use weight as a metric rather than a mood decider. So what I did was I bought myself a set of scales, and once a week I'll jump on them and write the number down and have a metric. And the thing that I find super interesting is that when you're eating more food, especially carbs, your weight's going to go up and down, because if you have like a weekend where you've got lots of carbs and you've been training and you've had lots of water and stuff, you're going to weigh more. You're not going to have more fat. But that number on the scale is going to be more.
So much more.
It fluctuates. Like I've got 6-7 weeks of data now, because I've only just started using it again, and it's bouncing all over the place. But my body has not changed.
If you think about water, I've been trying, while you were talking, I was trying to think of what the freaking thing's called. You might know. I don't know. The thing where when there's a lot of like water in flux or whatever, that water is going to change the weight of something. Like there's always going to be water coming in and out. And that is exactly what carbs do to you. That's exactly what fueling yourself does. Because not only do you have more food for your body to overall be hydrated, but the carbs, it holds water. It's a carbohydrate, not a carbohydrate. Like monohydrate. Well, that would be the air, but you breathe anyway. Like you're even breathing in air, regardless. And then you're training, and then the training also brings blood volume. The harder your sessions after leg sessions, there's that as well. And then if you're someone who does the flip floppy, jumpy up and downy bullshit, you're going to be overstressed. It's going to overtax your system. And then this is where a lot of women go wrong as well. Cortisol increases inflammation. And if you're overtraining, or even just training in general, like a normal human being, but you're underfueling it, you're overstressed, you're hardly sleeping, you're not eating enough carbs, you're going to be even higher on the scale, feeling fluffy and watery, because now your body is inflamed from stress. And that is the funny thing with weight. And the funny thing that you can bring there is the 56 and the 56. Well, 56.5. Like, two different bodies or completely different heights, the same weight. Yet we put all of our goals on this one thing. How about pants? They don't make pants for fit people. So trying to fit into normal unhealthy people, well, the majority of the population isn't unhealthy, but they're usually very under-muscled and very not shapely. Putting your expectations to fit into those pants, that is also where the comparison trap comes in. That's also where the process comes in, because I really love your idea on the process to bring it back here again. But that's also where expectations, timelines, actually going into the process, because if you don't have anything to work towards, well, how can you, when fat loss was the goal? Now you need to give yourself actually this part, start here and then work backwards. You need to give yourself patience and grace to even enable yourself to start this process in a way that doesn't have a foot out the door. Because like you mentioned, it took 12 months or 8 months, 12 months to actually finally take on what I'm saying, to start to see, I will say start to see progress, but progress was happening. It's just that you're blind to it. in the same way, and undo it when you go back into a fat loss phase, and then slash your calories again, and then get uncomfortable and slash your calories again, the reality of the world. But until you can fully go into it and have your new metrics of progress, it is very difficult for you to stay in the mental game, and you wanted to talk on the mental game. So here's where I'm going to let you reflect more.
Well, it is. And you've got to change the way you look at things, because if I still looked at things the same way that I looked at things a couple of years ago, I'd still be in the same place. So I think sometimes you have to let go of what you think is right, and you have to have faith in yourself. And it's really hard, especially when you can go through cycles, and a lot of women do, right? We go through these cycles and we think we're letting ourselves down, we're putting on weight, and all of a sudden we can't lose it. And sometimes that's like we've got kids and jobs and outside stress and relationships and families, and all of this stuff feeds into it. And it's all good. Like, you see these people on Instagram, right? That's their job. Like, their job is generally to make content and put Instagram posts up. And most of us don't have that as a job. So we all have lives. So it's about finding a way to be able to balance that. Sorry, where did you want me to go with that? I feel like I've gone on a bit of a tangent.
No, that bring this one into it, and then I'll direct you there.
Yep.
I heard a podcast and it stuck with me, and it was kind of like it was like a business related one, because I didn't have my phone with me, and completely nothing related to what I'm working on, but it actually had a good analogy that now stuck. So everything has a reason. It's almost like if you want to expand your business and hire people, then okay, you might feel like there are a lot of different things for you to work on now as a solo business owner. But if you want the new level, now you're going to have to pay payroll tax or whatever it is that you have to pay, like all these other things that you now need to look after. You have to pay your actual workers. You need to make sure that they're whatever they're looking after, they're doing a good job. Like, you have more and more responsibilities. So it's like, well, what level are you demanding? And are you willing to give it that? Are you able to give it that? You need to get really clear on what you are and aren't willing to do. And I will link Max's podcast below, because everything that Leanne has said, we spoke about in that podcast, where there's no such thing as a sustainable diet. Trying to make things sustainable is why you're stuck where you are, because you need to make those sacrifices. And what I wanted to direct you towards there was, because your idea of progress back then compared to now has completely changed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even matter what your idea of progress is if the process isn't happening. If you're not able to go all into the process, to enjoy the process, to have something that gives you direction. Because something that I've realized is, unless you have clarity or a direction, we're humans. We want to be achieving things. We want to work towards things. But most programs, unless you have a coach that directs you there, you're just getting a refresh every 4 months, or you're just downloading the next PDF. You don't know what to work towards. But if you have someone that helps you improve on your list, someone that directs you somewhere, it makes it so much more rewarding for you to show up, enjoy the process. And I'll get you to bring in the guitars here as well, because I have a feeling that changed how you approach all of this as well. And it gave you a different element of joy in the process. But talk about that whole mindset transformation with the process and the progress and the process.
Well, I think it comes back to your goal again, right? So it's initially starting with the goal of this photo, and this is what I want to look like, to I have a family, I have a job, I have other responsibilities outside of training and eating and all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's like, what's really my goal? Like, what is possible? And I think this is like, I just bang on about this, like, question your goal bit, because it's easy just to chuck a goal out there. But if we're not really connected to that goal, we're either going to get burnt out because we're trying to do it all, or we don't really believe we can do it. So I think that when you have other things outside of training and eating food, you have to be kind to yourself and go, okay, I might not be able to get this crazy goal that's up here. Okay, what would I be happy with? What's manageable? What can I achieve? Like, I'm all for setting like big goals, because I think pushing our comfort zone is who we should be as humans. Like I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I start to get comfortable, I start to get uncomfortably worried, because if we're not growing as humans, we're kind of going in the other direction. So
I think it's more so it's not the uncomfortable. I think I want to know if this is correct. Because we are kind of similar personality types, it's like if you don't have something to strive towards,
yep.
It feels very like, well, this is mundane, I'm getting bored. You start to put in less effort to that thing because you don't feel like you're improving in any other element. But I want to bring it back to what you said before. You also mentioned that it was about coming back to the body. And then you mentioned how other people do the same thing as well. It's kind of funny how everything has to revolve around fixing our body, changing our body. But we never actually look to ask ourselves, do I actually enjoy what's going on around me in my life? Am I happy with all these elements in my life? What are other things I can do? Leanne wanted to get into doing some business website stuff, and then the guitar, and then the life coaching. Like, it's not your body that is the only thing that becomes this weird Photoshop, paint shop masterpiece for you to work on.
I'd say stop looking at it. That's probably been the biggest thing that's changed for me lately. Just stop looking at yourself all the time, because I don't know, I can look at myself and go, oh, I don't like this bit, or I don't like this bit, or like, yeah, okay, you're not going to not look at yourself as you walk out the door to work. Like, you need to make sure you look okay. But
you're not hyperfixating on it.
Stop body checking all the time. Stop picking out the bits that you don't like, because the more that we do that, the more we focus on that, and then it all becomes all encompassing. And I think just from what you said, it's about focusing on other things, like do the process. So for me, talking about that process part of things, my goal at the moment has nothing to do with what I look like. None. My goal is to be in maintenance and be consistent with my training. They're my goals. I have no physical goal right now, and it's completely revolutionized the way that I'm doing things.
And in being consistent and in eating enough food and fueling properly, you're going to get to whatever outcome you want on the physical side anyway.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We need to stop making outcomes the goal. We need to start making the actions the goal. Yeah. And if you cannot do the actions, it is not a means of discipline. It's not a means of willpower. It's not that your body doesn't work a certain way. It's that you are too into the weeds. You need to step the fuck back and ask yourself, what is getting in my way? Let's actually address the real mountain, the real issue, because it's not, for example, your work going chaotic. You can say, well, I need to dial in harder. I need to get more disciplined. Why can't I do this? Well, actually, the reason you can't stay consistent is because you're putting so much pressure on yourself to do everyone's jobs all the time. You have this isn't you, but this is like most people. Maybe it was you as well. But you never put in the boundaries. You never actually take a lunch break to go for your steps, for your walk. So of course your steps are at 3,000 every single day. You don't even try to get your steps because you're so drained from trying to please everybody. It's like, okay, let's figure out the real issue. Maybe it's that you're trying to, like you said, focus on so many different things that you're so burnt out and so confused from what to focus on that you just do nothing.
Yeah, I just, focus on other stuff and still be consistent, because the biggest thing, I was looking for results all the time. And when, like, as you said, with fat loss, you can see results really fast. You can cut your calories. If I cut my calories, I reckon in 6 to 8 weeks, I'd be very cranky because I'd be hungry, but I'd see results, right? I'd be smaller, but that's not going to serve you. So when you are on this journey of building muscle and fueling and stuff, it's that, like you say, that it's that messy middle, right? So there's going to be times where your weight's going to be a little bit higher. There's going to be times where you might not feel, gosh, just with your cycle, like it changes. Like I can retain so much more water at certain times of the month. And then at other times of the month, I feel heaps leaner, but I'm not doing anything different. It's just your hormones and just all of this stuff that happens naturally anyway. But I find that they're the two things I focus on now. And I focus on my relationships and my work and going to the beach. And sometimes I pick up my guitar, not as much as I should, and just focusing on other things. Because when and I have in the past, make it all about, I've got to eat this and I've got to train and do this, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And when you can't do everything, you beat yourself up, and it sets yourself up for failure. I think we just have to be kinder to ourselves and have that longer term view and not that all or nothing mentality. And it's really made a big difference for me. I'm enjoying training. It's still hard. Training never gets easy because you're always challenging yourself. But being in a place with food, I'm never hungry. I don't even feel the need to binge anymore, which was a huge issue that I had years ago with that binge and restrict cycle. And I'm so well fueled, and I'm eating food that I love, and I'm eating a lot of it. I laugh at work because the guys will come in and they'll have their lunch in this little container, and I've got mine in this massive big container sitting there for half an hour eating my lunch, and I love it because I love eating food. So I just find that when you're not hungry, you don't have a desire to be binging on all the things that are bad foods because you don't even want it.
I would also assume that you stop getting hard on yourself and your body stops becoming the issue because you're not hungry, because it's not a problem to fix anymore. You know what it's like to be well fueled. And
Yep.
Going back to what you wanted me to bring up,
Yep.
Not until you go through the process and realize, hey, this actually feels amazing to eat more food, to trust myself to eat more food, and not actually, this will never happen even if you do it. If you still have, like Leanne did, the lingering diet thing on your mind. So there's two parts. There's what changed from you now without having that lingering diet on your mind versus how was your experience with it before, because I don't think you truly got what we could have got out of that because your mind was still in dieting. And then on the other side, when you think about dieting or cutting calories, the thoughts that come up.
Yeah. Well, when I think about it, let's start at that. I don't even want to think about it. I have no desire at all in going into a deficit, like just none. I know that if I just maintain and my weight doesn't do this all the time, if I can just maintain, I know that over the next 5 years, that if I keep lifting, I'm consistent and I'm in maintenance, my body's going to change. So that's what's really changed there. I don't need to go into a deficit because I don't need to get on the stage, and I don't need to be at any particular fat percentage. I need to be healthy and I need to be happy, and I'm happy when I eat food. And so the thing I guess that's changed is from when I was doing fat loss and when I wanted to do that fat loss phase, it was hard. Like, I didn't enjoy it because I wasn't eating enough. I was hungry. Initially it was okay, but then the longer it went, the less fun it was. And I think seeing the result is this exciting thing, right? Like, let's go into a fat loss phase. I'm going to get this result and it's going to be exciting. Although fat loss is simple, it's not easy. Like, you have to commit to it, and it sucks. Like, it sucks to be hungry. And I think that if you're going to do it properly, you have to do it properly, not be half in, half out. And I think that's what a lot of us can do. Oh, yeah, we'll reduce our calories and all week we're really, really good. But then on the weekend, we'll just go and eat breakfast out once, and we'll just have like a little something. And it's really easy. And then all of a sudden you're out of a deficit anyway. So you're going through this pain of what you think is a deficit, and you're not getting any results.
And then the end result is the fact that, I couldn't stick to it, so I'll just elongate my deficit. And you just keep elongating your deficit to the point where do you know what spurred me off on that podcast? You probably listened to my solo on 1,500 calories is not your maintenance. I put a post up in a group and I had women coming at me saying, you can't tell women what their maintenance calories are. You can't say this. I'm like, well, is it working? Like, is it working? We believe so fundamentally true.
But that's your beliefs. They're the beliefs that you want, and they're the beliefs I had when I started working with you. You want to hold on to them so tightly. How dare you say that? Because that's not true. Like, they're those beliefs that we all have that we want to fire up about because we believe they're true. And it's really, it's interesting. I'm really fortunate. I'm 5'8". So for a girl, I'm pretty tall. I'm on the taller side. So I'm lucky in that respect because my maintenance can be higher. I sit on my butt all day in my job. And so if you're a smaller person, you want to be able to eat at maintenance, because if you're thinking and eating in a deficit, you're eating nothing. Like you said that you used to eat like a bird during the day just to save you calories at nighttime. Whereas where I'm at now, I'm tracking my weight as a metric. And all I'm doing with that is to make sure that my intuitive, educated eating is on point. So all I'm trying to track is it over time trending up, or is it kind of bouncing around a little bit, which it is. So I figure, well, I'm in maintenance. I'm happy. I'm not hungry. Let's keep doing that.
And that's the thing, like, if you do this the right way, then you can start to put all of that focus into your training. You can start to film your lifts and obsess over that instead. And that was one thing that you said that I think now I have an answer to people when they start asking me the questions, because I knew this, but it never actually clicked until you made it click. People keep asking me what changed for me. How did I go from someone with an eating disorder to completely disordered eating to competing on stage, all these different things? How did I stop that shit? I stopped body checking. Yeah. That was it. Like, I cannot express just how powerful that one thing is, to the point where I didn't even realize that was the click until Leanne just made it click for me. But it did. Like, the room that I am in now is the only room in the house, aside from bathrooms, that have mirrors on them. The one at my old house, every single house had a wall, literally a full wall of a mirror, because it was just loaded with mirrors. But I didn't even look in those mirrors anymore. I was like, it's crazy how you just stop obsessing the things, and then all of a sudden you start obsessing the things that actually move the needle forward. Just because you can measure it doesn't mean that it counts, and doesn't mean that it matters for the results that you want. And I think this is really good. I got 3 questions to close the loop.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it'll really tie together nicely.
Will you remember those? Because I just want to say one thing, or would you want to get them out now?
I wrote them down.
Okay, perfect. Because just with what you were saying, it's like if anyone's even riding a push bike, riding a motorbike, anything like that, where you want to go, you have to look in that direction. So you can't turn on a motorbike and look in a different direction because the motorbike goes in that direction. So when you're body checking all the time, this is the way I see it. When you're body checking all the time and you're criticizing the bits that you don't like, you're focusing on it and you're making it worse. If you stop body checking and look in a different direction, you're going to move in a different direction, just like on a motorbike or a push bike. So I think when it's just kind of, I know it's really hard to do because you want to kind of keep checking to make sure that something's changing. But I personally think that if you keep checking, you're holding yourself stuck. Just have faith that you keep doing those things consistently. It's going to change. It's going to change slowly. So stop looking all the time because you're going to get annoyed with it. So look at something else, either a hobby, or focus on your training, or focus on your family, or just focus on something else. And just know that in time, have a look every now and again, but every couple of months rather than every day. And I think it'll be easier to change directions. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, you need a hobby. That's great. And for a second, I'm like, did you get that off a podcast? Because that's what I said. Except I used a water raft, and I mentioned a water raft where you're trying to avoid a tree. And if you look at the tree while you're trying to get away from it, you're going to end up like white water rafting into the tree instead of looking the other way. So as soon as you said that, I was like, holy shit, I agree with this.
I don't like boats. but motorbikes are okay.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Like, we're on the same level here, so we're onto something. But honestly, what you focus on expands. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, because what you feel, what you see, your version of reality isn't actually how it is. It's what you make it mean. And many times your fears are what you think what they mean to you, what you think it makes it mean to you, what it then leads to. So this means something. This means I'm a bad person, or this means I'm a failure. It's like, who decided these rules?
Yeah.
Who are you living for? It's not really the goal. It's the how do you want to feel on the other side? And in leaning to that part, what does strong mean to you now?
Feeling amazing. It's not necessarily the weight on the bar. It's just feeling strong is just different. It's a different feeling. Like, I know, I would say it's confidence, because when you feel strong, you feel confident to be able to go to the gym or work out at home or whatever it is, pick up your weights. Like, I never did split squats. I did them today. You'd be so proud of me. And I'd never done split squats before. And you program these split squats. I'm like, oh, yuck, what are these? And it's being able to challenge yourself to do things that it's like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Those bloody Cossack squats. I remember the first time I did those, I was like, there is no way that I'm going to be able to do these. And then as I practiced them over time, I got better. I got more depth. I mean, they still weren't awesome, like they weren't perfect, but you improve. So I think strong is having the confidence to know that you can do things that you couldn't do before, and you can lift more. It's very rewarding to be able to pick up a heavier set of dumbbells or put another plate on, until you get to that point where you're kind of maxing out and you can only get incremental movements, and you know that that's okay too. So yeah, I would definitely link strength to confidence for sure.
Especially now that you can actually be stubborn-headed Leanne and tell boys to get lost. You're going to carry the loads yourself because you can.
Yeah, well,
you did that the other day.
Could, but Scott's still the pack horse. He still carries everything.
I love that. No, it is really, it's a whole energy. Strength is not just the weight on the bar.
It's not.
Your advice to the woman who is still stuck chasing deficits, slashing calories when she gets uncomfortable, or in the comparison rut?
Yeah. Stop it. It's really, it is difficult, but I think it's understanding that until you're able to change the mindset, we're never going to build the muscle we need. So I think for someone, if you're younger, just do it, because you've got the capability to build muscles so much easier. If you're my age or older, it's even more important to do it and get started now. Look, I think eating more is so much more fun. Like, you enjoy life more, and you, like, as I said, you don't have as much binging, and it's just, you can find that really lovely place of consistency. And that's focused on nutrition though. It's like learning how to eat. And if you haven't worked with a coach before, that's a really important thing to do. It's like learning how to eat. How do you balance your macros? How do you know? Like, people think eating eggs is a great source of protein. Well, egg whites are a great source of protein, but if you're just eating eggs, it's probably not the best source of protein. It is protein, but it's learning how do you balance those macros to kind of still enjoy what you're eating, but ensure that you're getting that protein in, which is so important for building muscle. But if you're stuck, it's like a coach is great, because it definitely forces you to see things differently. But it's have faith in yourself and just keep going and stop looking for results straight away, because it's not about selling the program like, oh, you need to lose the weight and you're going to be here in 3 months, because it doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen like that. People can say it, but it just doesn't happen like that for a sustained result. So if you want some quick result and be back to where you are again in 6 months, go for that. But I would probably say be consistent, get to your maintenance, and lift like a beast, because the more muscle we have, the better we feel, and the better our metabolism is long term, I think, too. And you have to, coaches are great, like Ruby's great. It's like, it's that person to pull you through the moments where you're either confused or you don't understand something, or you're just really struggling. Like Ruby talks about minimum effective dose. Don't just stop. Don't be the old me who would just toss it in and just go, oh, well, too bad, I'm not going to do anything. Just do something. And sometimes it's really difficult when you're in your own head to be able to do that. So I guess when you're working with a coach, they're on the outside, they're seeing something very different, and they can be rational. Sometimes we're not rational in our own minds.
Humans aren't rational regardless. And if you still do reading, I highly recommend anyone listening to this actually, but there's predictably irrational, because we are irrational and it's predictable that we're going to be. His name is Dan Ari. I can't say his last name. It just starts with Dan. And he writes a lot on human behavior, on the way that the decisions we make are never based on logic, because we don't make decisions based on logic. That's why you see the most, well, I see the most, because to you, it's probably not you, to the person who's actually buying the thing, it probably seems logistical. But when menopausal ladies, everyone's preying on you at the moment. You buy off emotion because what they're saying does not make sense. Oh, you're storing fat on your belly because you're eating too little. Like, that doesn't make logical sense. But we emotionally buy into these protocols, these silly, foofy things, because we want to move out of pain. We are humans.
It's emotional. It's all emotional. And we generally don't make good decisions when we're emotional. And that's kind of that's that external person to be able to say that. And you can have that in a coach, you can have that in your partner, you can have that in your grown-up children. It's just having the confidence to ask for help though too sometimes, because if we think we can do it all ourselves and it's not working, it means that you might need some help, and that's okay. I needed some help. And Ruby was able to brainwash me into a different way of thinking. And now I've kind of come out the other side of that and have just, I found a place of, I would call it freedom. Like, I feel free, which is amazing considering years of extremist behavior. Yeah.
It's so hard for me as the coach to try to get people to see what freedom feels like, because it like on the other side, you just stop caring about the shit that used to overtake your mind, that used to get you down, that you used to obsess over. But everything you're saying yes to, you're saying no to everything else. And in saying yes to these obsessions, you're saying no to the life that you could live, the abundance that you could have, the energy that you can have, because you're so But I don't like Clara's episode. It's like you're walking around with your hands like this. You don't even know what's out there. This is your whole reality. It's almost like Barbie movies. I don't know whether you watch Barbie.
No.
I was obsessed with Barbie, where there was, I think it might have been Rapunzel, but no, it was Princess and the Pauper, one of those. Princess and the Pauper, I think it was. But regardless, she lived in like a castle and she wasn't allowed out. But when she did, she would sneak out. But at the same time, there was still like a magic boundary around this particular city they left in. Yeah. And that was the only reality she knew. She didn't know anything on the other side until they actually went outside to experience it. So you don't know what you don't know. Right. And it can seem like it's the fundamental truth. And that's why when a client said to me, it's not that I can't see what's on the outside of the box. I didn't even know I was in a box to begin with. That is what really like changed my thoughts there, which kind of leads me to the last really, really good question. And that's, what is the main word being proudest? What is your proudest mental shift through this?
That I don't have to be perfect. I think I put so much pressure on myself to be this image of perfection, and everyone's like, I don't know if you ever sit and just watch people. But if you do, women especially, we are also uniquely different. None of us are the same. None of us have the same body. There are different body types, but we're all so uniquely different. So what is perfect, right? And I think the biggest realization for me was to just take off that pressure and just go, I'm perfect as I am if I'm healthy and I'm happy, and just stop worrying about dumb stuff.
You sound like Luke.
Like it's just silly, right? Like even you see like these girls, women, we carry fat. The end. We are biologically designed to carry fat. And even girls that you see in the gym who are super lean and super fit and super young, they still have cellulite on the back of their legs. You know, like having this idea and these crazy ideas that we get, and I had, that, oh, I'll be happy when my cellulite's gone. Like, I would think of that now and I'm like, Leanne, that is so silly. That's part of being a woman. You know, like we're not, I think it was Tom, like you and Tom talk about, like we're not wood. Like we're not these pieces of wood that don't jiggle. We are human beings. And if we have a little bit of fat on us, so what? You know, is it the end of the world? Like, focus on the muscle. Don't focus on, like, if you've got a lot of weight to lose and for health reasons, yeah, totally get it, right? But don't focus on that. Focus on the process. Focus on the consistency. Make sure you're fueled, because if you're fueled, you're not going to binge on the ice cream and the chocolate. And I mean, I ditched alcohol. I don't drink anymore. And I've found that that's been a huge shift for me. And I know that's not something for everybody, but I was just finding that drinking alcohol didn't serve me, and it was extra calories. And when I drank, I wanted to eat rubbish food, and I ditched it, and I actually feel amazing. But once again, not for everyone. So everyone can make their own choices with that. But it's just finding what works for you.
I have a post coming up soon. I have to get it up soon. Jody, she started posting photos of her body changing, almost like, oh my God, she lost the cortisol phase, she lost the water weight, she lost the menopause weight. She didn't change anything except the fact she stopped drinking. And it wasn't what it really made her eat. It was the fact that she wasn't able to push herself in her training. She didn't want to walk the next day. And these are the different things that we don't realize unless we know how good it feels to feel good. So you start to blame all these external factors instead of getting to the root cause. And you said something that I want to tie this off with. It's not shameful to ask for help. And it's not bad to stop blaming external factors and things that are easy to blame, and to actually start looking in at yourself, because you cannot change things if they are out of your control. And I think that's also where a lot of people are scared to own up to things, because it means now they have to act on something. And that means you need to start being consistent. You need to start working in this direction. But what is it you want? Don't you want to feel good? Don't you want to have energy? Don't you want to live your best life? Like, you need to go through shit to get to the other side. The only way is through, and you grow through the process if you allow yourself to.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words?
Look, I think just keep going. That's the biggest thing. We can get so down on ourselves for, like how you were saying before, that we don't trust ourselves to be able to do things. But dieting isn't the answer. It really isn't. And until we can change that mindset, be okay with the process, you're never going to get to that end result. Because, well, I'm not even going to say end result, because let go of the end result. And I think that's even that bigger picture, right? If we have this end result, we still have this pressure on us to go, we need to do this by such and such date. Let go of that. Have faith that that's going to come once you've identified what are these few things I need to do and focus on to get me there eventually. not next week, not a month, not 6 months. Just eventually let go of that end game, because like what happens after you get there at the end of the day? Like with my competition, you got there, then what? Then there's nothing, but life still goes on. Life doesn't end after that competition. Life doesn't end after that goal. So let go of the end and focus on the now with the consistent behaviors of what you can do to move you there. And it'll just happen.
I love that. I hope things within this podcast really resonated with you. I hope something in here sparked something, made you think twice about something, maybe even made you question your old approaches. I want you to not just move on to the next podcast or to just move on with your life. I want you to actually ask yourself, why do you feel you struggled in the past? What mindsets could possibly be holding you back? What beliefs could you see as facts, but are honestly just limiting beliefs that are holding you back? Because once you can name them, once you can identify them and remove the shame from owning up to them, only then can you truly start to change. Only then can you start to see a way out. Because on top of this, if you don't know how you want to feel, you're going to fill that gap with more of the same stuff. It's almost like when you have gaps in your calendar, you're going to just fill it with more and more stuff instead of actually doing the things that make you feel better. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If anything at all stuck out, message me, shoot me a message. I will shoot you I will let you well, if you want to speak to Leanne, if you want to hear her story, if you want to connect with Leanne, I will put her little Instagram down below as well. But otherwise, you'll hear me on the next podcast. Is the record? Where's the damn record? I don't know if you can. I'll cut that part out. I don't know if you can hear the bloody dogs.
I can.